for people who are on the brink of suicide, when you have suicidal ideation, I was taught in school that hopelessness, there's no window of nothing. It's shut. It's shut like that. So when it's like that, any rational person, there's no reason to keep going because my window of hope is shut. All my best days are behind me. There's no reason to keep going. Just put me out of this misery right now. But if that window was open like this, if it's just if there's a sliver of hope.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Scrubs Unzipped, Unveiling Healthcare's Hidden Passions. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Dr. Kojo. Say hi, Dr. Kojo.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Hi. So, we met, interestingly enough, at a comedy show in Atlanta. And so, can you tell the audience about who you are and how are you doing comedy in
Most
your
definitely.
medical?
And first and foremost, thank you for having me on your podcast, Annmarie, and being flexible with me. I really appreciate that. My name is Kojo Sarfo, or Dr. Kojo online. I'm an actor, writer, and comedian. Originally a doctorally prepared mental health nurse practitioner. I started off in forensic psychiatry, did that for 16 months. Then I started posting on TikTok on the side while I was doing that, and TikTok kind of took off. And it gave me a chance to move to Los Angeles, California, and to take the brand and really reach a global audience. And I post content to educate people about mental health and to make people laugh and to not have people be so uptight about mental health because when you say mental health, people just kind of they tend to become recluse and like they think of like the stigma and they're like, oh, this is like a sensitive topic. But the TikToks that I started off posting and the skits that we do and being able to branch off into comedy, I think it helps people laugh and relax. And it helps people realize that we need to laugh and we need to talk about these things. And it's much more effective to talk about these things than to just suppress it and act like it doesn't exist. So that's what I've been up to in Los Angeles, California for the past 4 years.
Awesome. And you're being a little shy. You have like over 3.5 million followers.
Yes, Val, I appreciate that.
Congratulations. So
Thank you
you
so.
a Hollywood superstar now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like a superstar, but it's because of my people. Without my people, I'm nobody. So my community means a lot to me. Like my friends don't understand, but like my community is. I say these people are my employers. Like what they care about is what I care about because we have the same experiences. And I'm talking to people from different backgrounds, people that don't look like me, people that speak different languages, but we all have key experiences that we've experienced that has made us feel like outsiders. But now, for the first time, we feel like we belong to something. So it means a lot for me to be a part of this community.
Awesome. So how did you get started and like just go from the beginning, like not when you were born, but kind of like when you were born, like how did you like come to where you are now, like the basics?
All right, so my parents met, and then they had. Kidding. So, um, Kojo is the name for a male born on Monday in Ghana, which is a small country in West Africa. So, I come from West Africa originally. My parents moved around, and we landed in Nashville, Tennessee, and that's where, I started my education. I couldn't read until like halfway through second grade,
Oh, wow.
and like I barely learned how to read in time, or else I was in danger of having to repeat the second grade and go through that shame and all that disgrace. And eventually I learned that I had ADHD. But as you know, ADHD, when there's a deadline there and you have to get something done, all of a sudden we spring into action. So I learned how to read, somewhere between the break and then the end of second grade. And I was always one of those kids that kind of struggled to pay attention in class, but I was able to help out the kids who were in ESL because our parents made us stay. We had to go to like a different school in Nashville because the school we were zoned for was originally like a dangerous school. So we had to be in the ESL class. I had to ride the short bus and everything. So I would meet all these kids, mainly kids from, Mexico, Puerto Rico, that couldn't speak English. And we had a lot of special needs kids in there as well. So I would be teaching them English because I could already speak it. So I realized that one of the earliest things that I could do that helped my self-esteem as somebody who couldn't, read, someone who took him so long to write, was helping other people. And I continued to struggle throughout school. And getting to high school, I think I graduated with like a 2.6 GPA. I got denied from all the colleges that I applied to. And I got a chance to, my dad, he sat me down one day. He was like, all right, Kojo, you say you like helping people. You should look into nursing. Look into nursing because my older sister was a nurse. And during, there was a financial crisis around like '07, '08, '09, but that was a hard time for our family, and my sister's salary kind of helped to keep things afloat. We did end up losing the house and it got foreclosed, but my dad was saying, "Hey, the economy in the U.S. is up and down, and if you like helping people, look into nursing, and just get an RN degree, and I'll leave you alone." So I managed to get into the only nursing school that I applied to at West Alabama, and I was able to get into the program. I got into the program, and once again, that sense of urgency. And as a failing student, my confidence was just at a low. Like I needed that program so bad. Like I get to go there before my next show in Chicago this weekend. Actually, they're doing something for me, but it means so much to me because I needed that program so bad. I was struggling with my confidence. We didn't have money back at home. I didn't have any money. So latching onto nursing really helped me boost my confidence and help me help other people. And I took a job in the neuro ICU unit for about a half a year. I did get fired from that job. I don't talk about it online a lot, but I got fired from that job. So I got into nursing, and I'm in this career to help out people. And I get fired from my first ever job. And I guess it's still a sore spot because this is probably the first time that I've talked about that. Uh, but I went into psych after that. So I felt like a reject from the ICU, and I went to psych. And within nursing, there's this stigma that if you work in psych for too long, you're gonna go crazy, and you're gonna start hearing voices. Yeah, that's what they say. If you work in psych for too long, you're gonna start hearing voices and smearing your own feces on the wall. So I went to psych, and it wasn't a prestigious career choice. And I know some of my friends who were working back in the ICU were like, "Oh, we hope Kojo's okay. He got fired." But that was the biggest blessing of my life. And getting to work in a psych hospital helped me learn so much about myself and other people. And after being there for so long, I decided to go back and get my doctorate of nursing practice degree, and get my psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner degree so I could prescribe medications for patients, so I could diagnose them, and also so I can give them therapy because sometimes it's not only about medications. So I graduated with that degree in 2019, and I headed out to Southern Virginia, where I took my first job in forensic psychiatry. And this is like the first time that I'm like financially on my feet. I can finally like pay my bills. And the girl that I was dating was in Savannah, Georgia, and she would fly in every other weekend to see me. And when she wasn't in town, I was extremely bored. So there was this app called TikTok in 2019, and everybody was talking about it. So I hopped on TikTok out of boredom, and I posted a video to promote my first book, which I had written, but nobody was buying it. So I nearly deleted the app, and I'm so thankful that I didn't delete the app because I stayed around long enough and I was curious enough. And then a couple months later, I just started posting on TikTok just for fun, just to see where things were gonna go. And after a month, I had about maybe like 3,000 followers, which is not a lot, but for me, I was like, there's people who want to hear my story and they want to learn about mental health. And you fast forward like 2, 3 months, I get this invite from Kudzi, who works at TikTok. They had the first TikTok creator meetup in Los Angeles. This is February of 2020, and I get a chance to fly to Los Angeles to learn about TikTok. And at this point, I have like 20,000 followers, which is still not a lot, but for me, this is life changing. I'm like, people are
Yeah.
watching my content. And I went to Los Angeles, or I came here to LA to learn about, posting online. We got to meet Nick Cannon, Terry Crews, Tyra Banks, and all these, celebrities and content creators. So I left LA and I came back to Virginia with a dream. And I told myself, I'm going to post every single day on TikTok for the rest of the year. I did that, and and of course, in a month, the pandemic hit, and it was this huge mental health crisis, and everybody is trying to talk about their emotions and mental health and anxiety. So now I'm at the forefront of this mental health crisis. So I was in the right place at the right time, and as I'm posting my content, it not only helped out millions of people, but it helped me out too because I went through a breakup with the girl I was dating. And that year, I couldn't even go home for Christmas because of all the COVID regulations. So it was just me and a dog in an apartment with a phone and a ring light, just talking to my people online. So it helped create this really strong community with my people online. And you fast forward, 4 years, I moved to Los Angeles. The following tripled, and we have such a bigger platform now. We've been able to work with the Academy, CVS, Paramount, Bank of America, Hulu. So, my dreams are coming true. And I just have such a strong appreciation for my community. And it's like a second family. I don't have any kids. So this is like my kids. Like, this is like my family. So I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude.
Wow, what an amazing story. You have like the Hollywood story.
Yeah, yeah, I
S-
appreciate that.
So, one thing I noticed about you that I wanted to like find you and like kind of like stalk you a little bit is that when you came to Atlanta and you did the comedy show and you actually gave like your brother a spotlight. Like you
Right.
gave him you let him do his set in your set. And I thought that was like, that is so amazing how there's a loneliness epidemic, and like I love seeing other people bring people together, and I just felt like I saw that quality in you, and I was like, man, I hope I'll ask him if he'll come on my podcast, but I'm not sure. I'm like just a little small YouTuber.
I'm happy you did because like anybody who supports like the content, it means so much to me because I know where I came from, and like I just remember asking God for a platform for so long. Like I had so much to say, I had so much to put out, but nobody was listening. I was actually a failed YouTuber for a couple of years before TikTok came out. So I was doing YouTube and I was putting out videos, nothing was converting. So I was like, man, if I just get a chance to just have people listen to me, I'm like, God, please. And once I kind of cracked the code, I let my brothers know the blueprint, and they have dreams too. And I'm very close to my family. We're probably a little too close, codependent. But I'm very grateful for my brothers and my sister. I'm one of six, so we come from
Oh, wow.
a big family.
Wow, that is like contrast to me because I am an only child.
Oh, I feel bad. Oh my gosh. I don't know what I would do without my siblings.
Yeah. So
Ah,
are you close with your siblings even though you're like an adult and you're doing your own thing?
yeah, I'm very close with them. I want to say all my siblings have been to Los Angeles outside of my oldest because she has three kids, and she doesn't like to fly. Uh,
Oh.
so I'm telling her, hey, we can take some benzos, get some meds, and come over to California because I want my nieces and nephews to come and see like Universal and Disney and stuff like that. But almost the whole family has been over here. I'm very close to my siblings. Going back home is my biggest bill. I'm always going back home. I get homesick a lot. So yeah, I'm very close to my family.
That is amazing. And I'm so glad that your family didn't like discourage you from you were the nurse and now you're like an influencer and they supported you all through the way.
They supported me, but they also and that's why I'm so grateful for the old version of myself who was confident enough to take that chance on himself because my parents once it got to a point where like I became a doctor and I have a doctorate, my dad kind of like trusted my decision making like okay, he'll mess up here and there but he generally pushes the right buttons. So my
Mm.
dad was like, "Oh, okay, well if you want to go to LA and like just stay safe and take care of yourself. But when I told them that I was gonna go, there wasn't a lot of pushback. So that meant a lot to me. Even though they weren't fully sold on me going, there wasn't a lot of pushback, and that meant a lot to me because there was so much doubt that I had in my mind when I moved to LA. So I was like, like I'm still on the fence. Like, is this the right choice? Is it not?
Mm.
So their words at that point in time could have kind of affected how I process things, and they didn't have any negativity at that particular time. So that was very helpful for me.
Awesome. And I would just want to rewind because you mentioned God and your reason to like you asked him to give you a platform. Like, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so I remember there was this video that I made. It was like a day in the life of a psych NP student on YouTube, and it went viral. It had like 40,000 views,
Uh,
and for whatever reason, I think I was showing the girl that I was dating at that time. I was like showing I really started from like 5 a.m. until the end of the day. I had my little brother follow me all around Augusta, Georgia. It was very uncomfortable because it's Augusta, it's not LA. So people were like, what are you doing? Like, who do you think you are? Uh, but that video went viral, and I tried to replicate that, but I couldn't quite do that. And I found myself going into a lane where it was more so talking about my like career path, and I don't mind talking about my career path. Like, I love talking about it. There's different ways to become a doctor. There's different ways to become a nurse. I want people to be educated so that they can have the pleasure of helping out people like I do. But all the questions that I was getting was, how do I become a doctor? How do I become a nurse? Like, which class is the hardest? And I wasn't passionate about that. I was passionate about talking about, like, I don't feel good today. Like, like, how can I feel better? Or like how do you shake out of a funk? That's what I was passionate about. So people always want to go viral online, but people don't realize that what you go viral for is important, because whatever blows up, people are going to keep wanting that video over and over
yeah.
again. And then you'll be in a position to where everybody wants the attention. Because when a video goes viral, the same centers in your brain that light up when you're addicted to something, those same centers light up. It's literally an addiction. So it's training you to like answer questions that you don't want to answer, but you just want the attention. So I was like, God, I want people to be here because like we have a shared common goal. And I don't want to just be talking to like people who want to go into healthcare. I want to talk to people who don't look like me. I want to talk to people who speak different languages. Like, I want to talk to people who comment and it's like Chinese stuff that I have to like click translate. Like, I want a global audience. So, and even what I wanted, I feel like reality has superseded that. Like, I just sit here with a lot of gratitude. Like when you were like, I want you to come on my podcast. I'm like, the answer is yes. I just have to let my team like figure it out. Like, the answer is like, I really want to do everything, because
Mm.
it's still kind of like, it's still processing in my mind that people like look up to me, they enjoy my content. So I'm still recognizing that I am who they think I am, if that makes sense.
Can you clarify that? Like in different words? I don't understand.
Right. So it's just more so of like I know who I am. So there's this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, identity. Identity
Mm-hmm.
is so important to us. Like, who I know this from my psychiatry training, like who you see yourself as
Mm-hmm.
is important, because based off your identity is going to dictate the habits that you put in place and what you do. If you
Mm-hmm.
see yourself as a writer, you write. If you're a comic, you write and you put jokes out. If you're a doctor at the hospital, like you put everything into research and like So with me having all like the medical side and then the entertainment side, sometimes you go back and forth where you're like, all right, I feel like a healthcare professional. I feel like a content creator, and also being here in Hollywood, I tell people that like a day in Hollywood is like a week in the South, and a week
Really?
here is like a month out there, because so much happens.
Oh
Like,
wow.
so much is happening, and these aren't everyday things. You're at red carpet premieres, and then uh, I'm going to the Oscars, and then the next weekend I could be at home, clean the house, doing the dishes because my mom said so. I still have to do what my mom says. So you have these like highs, and then life will give you lows. So sometimes, like when things are going good, you see yourself as like the superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like sometimes you have rock bottom, or you may have breakups, or things happen, or you'll be grieving, and you can be at a low, but people still see you as, oh, this superstar. But I'm like, yeah, I'm struggling right now. I don't see myself
Mm-hmm.
as whatever you think I am. So it's really hard to kind of, compartmentalize and tell yourself, okay, this is who I am. This is who they see me as. Uh, who am I? So it kind of cuts deep into your identity, especially being out here.
Wow. And I just remember like some people don't even know who they are. They are
Yeah,
looking at other people and emulating them, thinking that, oh, that's me. I'm Oprah, I'm Beyonce, I'm whoever celebrity
right,
I want their life, but they don't realize that they are a thumbprint, like they're God's thumbprint. Like
right,
you're meant to be on this earth to be who you're supposed to be, not someone
right.
else.
Right. And sometimes it's not that people want to forget who they are, but so much comes at you. And like
Mm,
especially being out here, like I finally learned to like say no to certain things. I can't be at every single thing. Like
mm,
there's this big Beetlejuice screening that's happening on Wednesday tomorrow. The movie with Jenna Ortega. I'm like, oh, this is lights. Like, I like attention. Don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking to myself, I have another show in Chicago, and my comedy class is tomorrow at the same time that the screening is. And I've always told myself, the art coach, are like, we like attention, we like the lights and the cameras, but when it comes down to the craft
mm,
versus these things, like, can you make it? If I go to this screening, it's not a bad thing. But like, can you stay focused for somebody who is already not the most focused? Can you stay focused on a certain task? Can you keep your priorities in order?
mhm,
If they weren't scheduled at the same time, I'd go to both. But when it comes down to pick and choose, or how do we prioritize this thing over that based off of where we want to get to in a city where everything is thrown at you?
mm. I also want to point out you mentioned a comedy class. I also take a comedy class.
Okay, when'd you take it?
I took it so part 1 was like a month ago and we had the showcase, and then I'm going to take part 2 in October.
Okay, and did you enjoy it? Was it helpful?
It was very helpful. It was like knowing like the insides of a joke. And because I am like, I don't know, like when I get on stage, I act like a different person. Like people wouldn't even know what I
Yeah,
do outside of work. But it was just so freeing to be able to express myself and to
yeah.
have people like react to it with like laughs. It was so joyful.
I tell everybody that even if you want nothing to do with comedy, everybody should do it at least once. And if you also take a comedy class, if you're a speaker and you give speeches, or even if you're a YMCA coach and you teach middle school kids how to play soccer, like being able to infuse humor into whatever you're doing, it's a cheat code to allowing you to connect with people. Like I think
Mhm.
everybody should try stand up at least once. I don't see how people go through life without at least trying to like get on stage. Like you have to do it.
Yeah, it is such an exhilarating experience. And I don't know, some people just, they're like too much in fear.
Yeah,
And sometimes it can stop them from like being their best self.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people are living in fear, and I get so passionate about it because I think back to the old version of myself, and the reason why I decided to move to Los Angeles is because I looked at myself. All right, I'm here in Virginia. I finally have my doctorate degree. I'm finally working this job. I'm finally making the money that I want to make. I can finally. And when I went to Virginia, I was in so much debt from helping out family and
Mm,
financial issues that you can't think. So I was like, oh God, just let me like. I asked for the chance to get that job. I got the job. Now I'm working. Now I'm finally like financially stable, and now I have to
mm,
think about: do I want to go to California and risk it all? Or should
mm,
I stay here and just stack up money and just, like hang out with the boys or do whatever? And there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason why I came to California is because I realized that if I didn't come to California, that 4 or 5 years later, the old version of me would hate who I am today because
Mm,
this version had the guts to act on his dreams,
mhm,
whereas me, the version of me who would have stayed over there, would have been afraid. And there's nothing wrong with staying there. I was making a difference. I had my
mhm,
20 to 25 patients in my unit. I love my patients. I felt like I was making a difference, but I'm telling myself, all right, we got 20 to 25 patients. I can go get a global audience. Like I can help the world. I can help the world. So taking that leap of faith was, it was just so much needed for my confidence, and I'm so happy that I did it. And now when I realize that I'm afraid of something, I, I run towards it, which is part of the reason why I do comedy, because I got, like I took a leap of faith. I left Virginia to come to California, and I'm like, God, I didn't have a medical license in California when I came. My
oh,
parents were like, don't you want to get a license so you can work?
mhm,
I said, oh, mom, I promise you I'll get a California, and I have a California license now. And I've worked in California, just not full time, but like I have it. I said, Mom, I promise you I'll get it. But she's like, Kojo, what are you gonna do for our money? But I wasn't thinking about that. I was just
mm,
so gung ho about, I don't know how I'm gonna make it in California. I don't have any sponsorships. I don't have any deals. I have no money lined up. And when I came to California, I got with some influencers and we lived in a house in Irvine. And it went horribly wrong. I lost
mm.
$20,000 in the first 3 months,
Wow.
and nobody paid me back. So now I'm sitting there, no California medical license, lost all this
Mm,
money. I've been saving up, been working. I worked all these extra hours so I can save money so I can go to California and take a chance in my dreams. And I get here, and that happens. But it was more so a sign of our culture: keep going, keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding, keep believing. And then right when I'm like, oh, the money is going low, I get a chance to work with CBS on an 8 month deal, which turned into 3.5 years. So it's like
wow.
that irrational belief that it's going to be okay.
Mm,
That's why I'm so passionate. You have to follow your dreams. You have to follow your dreams. And then once I started getting brand deals, my next fear was I'm starting to fall in love with comedy, but I can't do comedy because what if I say something on stage that makes me lose the sponsorships? And that
mm,
fear held me for like a good almost a year. And I
mm,
said, all right, Kojo, we can't control that. And like, I'm not a person who like says bad things about people anyway, but
mhm,
fear is irrational. So you're like, I should just stay safe and just stay away from it. But I realized I was afraid to get on stage, and it kept me up at night. I said, "Nah, we have to go on stage. We have to run towards our
mm.
fears." And it's been one of the most liberate. Just like you said when you did, your comedy class, it's one of the most liberating things to express yourself and
Mhm.
let people laugh at your genuine points of view.
Wow, that is amazing. What is your relationship like with God now?
It's so much stronger. I'm telling you, and my mom, like when I was in grad school, I moved out of the house because my mom, like I was working double shifts. I was work like
Mm,
because I started to help out the family and take care of all this stuff while I'm in school. So what I would do is I would put my scrubs on and I would go work the night shift at the hospital as a nurse, and then I would finish the night shift as a nurse. I would drive to the Circle K across the street, wash my face, get some coffee, make it look like I'm awake, put some lotion on, and then I'll put on like a dress shirt, and I will go on round with the psychiatrist for another 8 hours. And then
wow.
I'll take a little nap in my car so I could drive home, sleep for 5 hours, do it all over again. And
Mm,
then sometimes on the weekends, my mom would say, Coach, you didn't go to church. I'm like, Mom, I'm out here trying to help you pay the bills, all
mm,
this stuff. I'm too tired to go to church. But she thought that like I'm not, like he doesn't take the things of God seriously because we come from a very, strong Christian family.
mm,
But when I left and I did my own thing, and especially here in California, I believe that my faith has grown because literally I've been at wit's end and I've seen God come through because this
mm,
is scary stuff. People get canceled all the time. So sometimes you're like, where if somebody cancels me or like now everything I've worked for is gone. But you
mm,
can't live in fear, and it's all about believing. So like in Christianity. Like God wants you to believe. Like people think that to go to heaven you have to like, I gotta feed all these people. No, you don't have to. You just have to believe, and if you believe, your actions will, there'll be things that He wants you to do because you believe. So likewise, when you're chasing a dream, you have to have this irrational belief that it's gonna work, no matter how good or bad your day is. So I believe that being here in LA, it's definitely strengthened my faith a lot.
Wow. And when you said believe, I remember so I'm a respiratory therapist and I didn't get a chance to like rest like everyone else did during the pandemic. Like I wish I could have been doing TikToks, but I didn't get a chance to do the TikToks because I was at work. And it was just really, really stressful and it really got to me. Like it got to me really bad. Like I I've been institutionalized 4 times and they were critical, like they were like crisis stabilization. And this like second to third time I really felt like God visited me. Like I felt like that experience helped me, is still helping me now. Like even though like you go to a psychiatrist and you go to the psychologist and they give you medication and all this stuff, I felt like that experience was like a spiritual experience for me. And like I do the medication and all the regimen and stuff, but it's just like this one thing, like of all the things that happened to me, it's like God told me to use my tools. And so in this situation, I was like preparing something and I was actually like preparing like my death. But it was just weird because I was trying to prepare someone else for if I wasn't there. So I was going to give them tools to use, like, okay, you're going to be on Earth, I'm going to be gone. But while y'all on Earth, y'all going to be needing this, this, and this, and this. And then, like, when I remember that, I feel like God has blessed me with so many tools that I can use. So, like my gifts and my talents, this podcast, because I felt like as a healthcare worker, there's a lot of stigma about mental health in healthcare when you are the healthcare worker. And I felt like I needed an outlet to stir up my passion because I felt like there was like a lot of people dying and there was things that were out of my control and I felt like I really need something to actually be a voice for the voiceless, and that's why I started Scrubs Unzipped. And I felt like I get to learn so many things from different coworkers while I'm at work for 12 hours, 12-hour shifts. Like, we talking all the time. I'd be like, you have a clothing business? Like, you do t shirts? You do woodworking? I'm like, how come nobody knows about this? And I have like a marketing background. So it was just like a blessing for me to be able to do this. Besides all of the mental health, like I still feel like even in the not so good days, I still have a little hope. I hold on to like a little bit of hope. Like if I just could like hang on to this next shift in my life, because I feel like there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of evil in this world going on right now, and there's a lot of spiritual warfare going on, and it's not enough to just be happy, like joyful. Like you really have to like plead the blood of Jesus. Like I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's just like
I know exactly what you mean, and I'm a Bible believing Christian, and like I truly believe that if you give your life to Christ, and even people who you don't believe in God, it all comes down to belief. for people who are on the brink of suicide, when you have suicidal ideation, I was taught in school that hopelessness is the hallmark sign of suicidal ideation. So when you're hopeless, that window of hope you described is not there. There's no window of hope, nothing. It's shut. It's shut like that. So when it's like that, any rational person, there's no reason to keep going because my window of hope is shut. All my best days are behind me. There's no reason to keep going. Just put me out of this misery right now. But if that window was open like this, if it's just if there's a sliver of hope, it could be the fact that you want to play with your dog tomorrow, or the fact that you want to play a video game the next day, or you have one friend who's coming over this weekend. You're like, okay, maybe I'll kill myself next weekend. Sometimes it's that sliver of hope, that small sliver of hope that's like, all right, that's it. This small thing is gonna keep me alive, and because of this small thing that's kept me alive, you're curious enough to hang around. As long as you can stay curious, you hang around, you hang around, you hang around. And the marvelous thing is sometimes your situation doesn't change. Your the toxic situation, the toxic dating situation that you're in doesn't change. Your financial situation doesn't change. The people around you doesn't change. But when you have so much more hope, you're like, all right, it's all the same. But I know that I can do a little bit to make each one of these things better. And that hope is predicated upon having a little bit of belief. You have to have some belief. So by literally being a Christian, you're practicing having belief, which is irrational faith for something that you can't, it's not tangible. It's not tangible. And it's I don't force Christianity on anybody, and I want to my message is for everybody, but there is an element I think we're missing this country. Like when you eliminate God out of things, even if you like you don't believe in the Bible, just when you have God, when you have structure, it's a way of life. And I'm not a perfect Christian, and my friends be like, Kojo, weren't you just? Yeah, I was doing that the other day. I'm still a Christian. Yeah, I was out there, but I still believe. So because I believe, I'm gonna come back to equilibrium eventually, and it helps to keep that window of hope open, which is so important. And I'm happy that you're still here after the back and forth to the hospital and the crisis stabilization units. And there should be no shame about going to this psych hospital. Most people would rather tell their boss that they got locked up than they went to the psych hospital. Believe it or not, but most people would rather do that.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And when, like, I feel like it makes me want to get well, like, their stakes are high because I don't want no medical bills. So I'm gonna make sure I stay compliant, make sure I stay grounded, make sure I have my support system, and make sure I like do the basics like eat,
Yeah,
sleep, drink water, like do all of that, do all the things, and have the therapist and the
right,
psychiatrist and exercise. Like I feel like when I was in a deep, deep depression and I didn't have any medication, the medication helped me like make a good choice. Like
right,
it like I was like in the bed, like just couldn't get out of the bed, just laying there. And when I started like a medication regimen that was good for me, I actually made make better choices. And
yeah,
it's not to say that I don't ever lay in the bed, but it doesn't last as long as it would have.
right.
And I
A clear
know
difference.
and I know like some people are saying like big pharma about medications, and I feel like I just remember that thing. Like God said, use my tools. So I'm going to use this for right now while I'm in this season. And then in the future, when I get more resources, I'll be able to come off medication. Or I don't know, maybe I'll be able to take them like vitamins. I call them vitamins. They my vitamins.
Happy vitamins.
Yeah, they
They're,
my vitamins.
they're needed, especially in our community. My thing is, I get frustrated sometimes because I'm like, black people would do anything anything but take some medications.
Mm.
It's very frustrating for me as somebody who I'm at the forefront of what I do, and I'm helping. And like I like all people. I'll help white people, black people, Hispanic, everybody. But when I go days, weeks, months without seeing black people reaching out for help, I'm like, I know we're out here hurting. Why am I seeing people who don't look like me come into office? Why am I seeing people who don't look like me DM me and ask for all these, resources and tools? Because as much as I believe in prayer, sometimes people struggle because of a lack of information.
Mhm.
And the prayer won't do anything about that. God puts you in a position to go out there and get this information. But if you don't have the information, then you're just sitting here and you're suffering because you're not equipped with the tools to take care of yourself. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Like
Yeah,
there's
and okay, so I'm gonna tell you my story. When I first was going through like depression and stuff, I was in the church and the minister told me that the antidepressants was the devil. They told me it was of the devil. And they tried to do deliverance on me, and like I don't know, like I have a bad taste in my mouth from that experience. But either near or there, it was a learning opportunity. But it's misinformation. Like you say, like black people aren't coming in to get help. It's because there's so much like religious spiritual religion and tradition is like misinforming people, saying like how many other ministers tell people that medication is of the devil? Like just I guess you have to like think about that. And I know that it's not.
it's frustrating to think about because if it's happened to you, it's happened to so many other people. And why are we like God gives us the tools? Why are we preventing ourselves from getting the help that we need? And sometimes these medications, like this, can be the difference between life and
And
death.
death.
So to call this thing the devil, I mean, you're projecting your personal beliefs because God never said there's no book in the Bible. You can't find a verse of Romans where God's like Zoloft is the devil.
No.
That doesn't exist. So these are all things that are made up off of culture, and you have to understand it's coming from a place of pride.
Mm.
And doesn't the Bible say pride comes before a fall? It's
Fall.
coming from a place of pride. So it's like, okay, as for us, as for this family, nothing gets outside these four walls. If you feel depressed, go depress them dishes. Get out of your room. Come say hi to your family. Come say hey to your uncle. Blah blah blah. Um, Kids have no autonomy. Not and kids. So many kids are chronically suicidal. Kids as
Mm-hmm.
young as 10, 11, 12. Kids in third and fourth grade killing themselves because of
Yeah.
what they see online, comparing themselves to other people. Sometimes maybe it is a chemical imbalance. Maybe a Zoloft or Prozac will help, but then you're living in a family where it's not even an option.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, the parents don't even know. If they knew, maybe they'd do better, but they don't even know because it's embedded in our culture to be purposefully negligent and not to take the necessary steps that we need to help ourselves. So that's why, like for me, I mean, I come from a strong West African family. We have a lot of cultures and plays, but like maybe it's a neurodivergence in me, but I don't believe in doing certain things because of tradition. Like
Mm.
I'm not gonna do a bride's price, which is where if you marry a girl from Africa, you give the family a couple $1,000s. I'm like, nah, I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. Eh,
Mm.
I don't want to do that. Oh, it's against tradition. Okay, cool. So you want me to have five wives because that's a tradition? Like, how are we gonna pick and choose? You see what I'm
Which
saying?
tradition to follow?
Right. People just pick and choose what they want to follow and let go of the rest, which is fine. But when it comes to a life and death type of thing, the whole I mean, I have some real thoughts about this. Like I've worked with a lot of companies, done a lot of amazing things. Being here in LA for 4 years, I have not worked with a single black organization, and I am who I
Hmm.
am. I'm right here. They know where to
Wow.
find me. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in the entertainment capital of the world. I have not worked with a single black organization on anything, no campaign, and I would do some of this stuff for free because I'm very passionate about it, as you can see, but it's just not a priority in the black community. They would rather talk about something else. I have
Hmm.
almost 4 million followers, and
Hmm.
I I don't know. I'm still
Hmm.
trying to figure that one out.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I'll think
very
about.
interesting.
Well, I hope like you hearing my story and gives you like a little sliver of like you pull the needle and you say like you follow the thread. But I think it's like a lot of generational trauma and
Yeah,
slavery. Like we weren't even able to see a doctor, or and they had experiments on black people, so black people don't trust the um doctors. And then even still, like with black women having babies, like
yeah,
it's different like racial divides. But I feel like if you don't fight for you, like no one will fight for you as much as you
yeah.
will fight for you.
No,
And
I completely agree. And I mean, it'll be interesting seeing what happens moving forward. But I mean, I'm here, and I understand slavery, everything from slavery. It's still embedded in us. That's it's a true point. But at some point, we have to rise up as a people and
mhm,
stop making excuses because our children are hurting over this. There's so
mhm,
many kids out there who suicide is the only option for them, and that's
mhm,
all they can think about. And parents don't know. And this is not like a localized problem, a certain family here and there. This is systemic. This runs deep. We have to
mhm,
change like everything about the way we process things. We have to put different things as a priority in the black community. But as you know, I'm not gonna run this podcast with like all the black issues. But when somebody speaks up about black issues, people get very offended. But we have to put our ego
oh,
to the side and let's
mm,
accept this help because it's 2024, and like yeah, slavery, yeah, Tuskegee, but I'm here now. And there's so many other black professionals and
mhm,
even people that don't look like us who are willing to help us. And they're there, but we have to tap into it and utilize these things. And I think that, me and you, like anybody who is black and who has this message of mental health awareness and positivity, it's a responsibility. At least I see it on myself as a responsibility to get louder because I'm seeing the self sabotage of even family and friends. I'm seeing it happening in front of my eyes,
mm,
and then like I mentioned something, but it's they don't have a problem with toxic relationships. They have a problem with self esteem.
mm,
Like it cuts deep, and that's what puts you in these situations where you take less than what like you're supposed to get. Like you gotta go to therapy. Maybe you need meds. You have to create a system for yourself on how you can have a life that is worth living, that you can thrive. So I mean I definitely hope that I can connect more with the black community, and I think entertainment is an amazing way to do it. So it's a step for me being out here in LA, and just as more ideas come to me, it's just about me putting my system into place to where when I have an idea, we can execute on it and bring it to life.
and I also want to, like, I remember in psychology, like the little psychology that I know, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Needs, yeah.
And it's just like remind me like most people, black people, are still trying to do the basic. They're still trying to find a roof over the head. They're still trying to find food. They're still trying to find shelter. And they're really at the bottom of the pyramid. And it's so like, I feel like me being a healthcare provider, I am fortunate because I dual enrolled in high school. Like I skipped senior year and I was able to go to college for free and I got scholarships. So I was able to get my respiratory therapy for free. And it was just like very eye opening of how education and how the different levels of hierarchy of needs. Like I feel like like my house is okay. I have food in the refrigerator. I have like basic, I have clothes, like I have basic. So now I can go back and like heal the parts of my past and like break generational traumas. But if you are still focused on trying to figure out what you're going to eat, it's really hard to like to fix that. And I feel like the only thing that I can do in my power is to, like, I feel like the man said it best, Michael Jackson, like, man in the mirror. Like, if you want to, if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself. So I feel like I want to start with me, make sure that I'm okay. So once I get up, like, I'm going to have my time. Once I get to my time, I make sure I'll be able to stay there, and I'll be able to like stay where I need to be at what time I need to be there, because there are so many people who are like dropping like flies. Like you'd be like, here the net here now, gone the next. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I am okay. And I think like that's why God, I feel like God is like protecting me like through hiding me, but with me like being on stage and being on comedy stages and stuff, like I'm like peeking out, like I'm like peeking out. Like I have my podcast, and I'm just like really excited. So like I'm like really excited to like talk to you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's like almost 11 o'clock for me. But
Oh,
I work night shift. But like I really like talking to you, and I really like pray for you, like cuz I know like Hollywood is like a demonic territory.
yeah. No, that was playground out here. Yeah. Made me think
and
about it.
and I know you encounter some stuff, especially like with psych and mental health. Like that is a very big, I would say, burden. But I guess the word says like you carry your cross. And I believe that you carry it well. Like you're doing a good job, and you're not you're still nice. So like in 5 years from now, I hope you still talk to me.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely will. I will not forget you.
I hope you still talk to me like when you all Hollywood. Like remember Annmarie. Remember me.
You. I take pride in my names.
Awesome. So like I want to like give you the time left to like say what you want to say, and what you didn't get a chance to say, like because I didn't know, like I didn't have the question to ask you. So like this is your floor to like say.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me on this podcast. Thank you for coming up and asking me because, like, of course, I'm busy and there's a team and a system, but I definitely enjoy doing these things, and it also gives me a chance to just sit back and reflect and see how far I've come. And it's funny how we ask God for certain things, and then we get it, and we tend to disrespect Him and just
Mm,
act like we're supposed to be here. Like we take everything for granted. Like we're supposed to have all these nice things. We're not supposed to have anything. We're not entitled to a single thing. Every day when I wake up, being alive is a blessing.
mhm,
I never have a bad day. I'm alive. My extremities work. My family's healthy and they're here.
mhm,
My community's behind me, and I'm just in a very grateful moment of my life where I'm just leaning into gratitude and I want to be as present as possible. I really struggle with being present and being in the moment,
mhm,
especially as I'm out here in Hollywood doing all these things. So, all I can say is, thank you for sharing your story. It takes a lot to share your story. Talking about being institutionalized, it's a very embarrassing thing for a lot of people to talk about. But I think when you get to the other side of ego, and fear, that's when you start to unlock things.
mhm,
Talking about your experiences in the psych hospital, you'll connect with so many other people who are afraid to talk about it. And I go back to my first book, You Already Won.
mhm.
Uh, I released a book September of 2019. So this is actually the 5 year anniversary of, wow, 5 year anniversary
Oh
of,
wow.
uh, uh, wow, of the book. And
Congratulations.
dang, dang, that means a lot to me.
Oh.
And this is a book that I remember. Uh, the book was done. the book was done. It was ready to be, you know, sent out. I self-published it. And there was one part in the book I was going to take out. It was a complete chapter. And that book was talking about me having ADHD and my ADHD story. That's the
Mm,
one part I wanted to remove from that book. If I had removed that part from the book, I don't think that book does what it does. We don't have a
mm,
book because that was the most embarrassing part about the book,
mm,
talking about having ADHD and struggling and being behind, all the shame that comes with it. If I didn't keep that part in the book, I don't think that book would have been worth anything. I kept it in there. I got over my ego. I got over my fear, and that allowed me. The book was what made me get on TikTok.
mm,
TikTok changed my life.
mm.
TikTok allowed me to get a second book deal, which allowed me to get on Today's Show and to just send my, get my platform out to so many more eyes. So everything you want is on the other side of fear
Mm.
and overcoming your ego. And I'm so grateful that whatever was in me that allowed me to be confident. I'm just so grateful that God um, equipped me with the tools to put my story out there. And um, without that book, I don't think I would have had this platform. I would have
Mm.
stayed, reclusive and not talked about the things I struggle with. But I wouldn't be doing comedy. So I'm just so grateful for um, like all my trauma and all the embarrassing moments and everything that I guess I was too afraid to say out loud because those are the
Mm.
things that have helped me connect with other people who are struggling, and we've made such a huge difference. And I just can't wait to keep this thing going. But at the same time, I'm just so grateful for this particular moment. And this interview is most definitely the highlight of my day. So I just want to say thank you very
Aw.
much. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Koja. I'm so excited that I got to see you in Atlanta. I actually took like a PTO day for you.
Oh, wow. I, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means it means a lot to me. Like when I realized that there's people who took the time out to come to a show and just more so even just maybe even forget the show, just the connection, just to be able to talk to people. Especially when I built my platform during the pandemic, there wasn't that, like people were just on the on the screen.
Hmm.
So I appreciate you. I hope whatever you lost by coming to the show, you get that back sevenfold and more.
Amen. Yes, and amen. I already getting it back. I already got it.
Amen. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Annmarie.
Do you have anything coming up um in the next month?
Uh, yes, ma'am. I have
Okay.
a show September the 8th in Chicago, Illinois. Allsip, Illinois, to be specific, at the Riddles Comedy Club. I'll be headlining there, and I'm sure I'll have some more headlining shows. But we have the Chicago show for sure, and then we have um, November, I think 16th. I'm not sure the exact date, but 15th or 16th, mid-November. I'll be speaking as a keynote speaker at the International ADHD Conference in Anaheim, California. So
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Awesome. And I forgot to mention that you went to the White House.
Oh, yeah, and see,
You
this is
didn't say anything.
no, no, because I'm like that. That's how overwhelming life is. Like my thing is, so much has happened to me for me that I can't quantify all the blessings. White
Mm,
House, I got paid to go to the Oscars. Um, I was in the documentary featured on Oprah's own network. Like it's so much has happened that, like I forget all. Like that's how good God has been to me.
mm,
God has been so good. Like this is a God thing. It's not a me thing. This is strictly a God thing. I
mm,
believe. I like if I didn't have a relationship with God before, I most definitely have a relationship with God right now. This is a
mm.
God thing. Like I forgot the White House. That like I do I'm a part of the White House roundtable, so I do Zoom meetings with them like like once or twice a month, but like it just doesn't
Oh, wow.
register to me because it's become so overwhelming. Like
Mm.
that's how much, I've been able to do. So it's just God. I'm just grateful.
Awesome. Well, attitude of gratitude is always the best. And I hope that you, like, you don't get weary in well doing. Like, I know you talked about, um, like, we talk about race and how you see how you see black people and some other people that can't access mental health at this time. And I know that that's a big burden for you, but I hope and pray and that you have supernatural God given angels bound angels and fighting for you on your behalf so that you don't have to lift a finger, so that is
Amen.
God says you do it and it's done. And I just wish well for you, and we'll definitely keep in touch. Thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Anne Marie.